Hey guys, it is me, Tanya, founder of the TNG Designs Group Limited. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. Now, in this particular video, we are going to be touching base on part 2 of what does it mean to stand out. And specifically, we're actually going to be touching base on the idea of what does it mean to stand out as a personal brand. Now, I wanted to split these videos up because I think they're important to be able to understand what does it actually mean specifically, or even more targeted on specific kinds of brands. So obviously this particular video we're talking about personal brands. The next part 3 we'll be talking about business brands, and I'm going to showcase to you in this specific one an example of a personal brand who is doing the do and literally touching base on the 3 key things that I actually talked to you about in part 1 of this series. Now, when you get to grips with all of this stuff, and you most definitely will, folks, by the way, you know me, I always give things in very bite-sized chunks. I don't want to overwhelm you with this whole stuff of branding because it can be overwhelming, and I'm very clued up on the fact, simply because I've had prospects come up to me and ask me all these key things, which is why I want to bring all these questions to you and equally help you to understand what the answers are for them. So that being said, before you get stuck into this video, as always, folks, please make sure that you go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel, because I'm super aware of all the likes and views that I've been getting on my specific videos, and I love it. But please go that one step further and actually become a subscribed member, because the more and more you subscribe, the more and more that I get to put this stuff out there, and yeah, and literally just serve as many people as possible to help them to understand what branding is, specifically what it is not, and the impact that it can actually have on you as a person, you as a business, more specifically. So folks, yeah, please make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe, and as always, stick around to the very end, because there's some key principles I want to share with you to be able to literally help you to take your brand to that next level. So without further ado, folks, let's get into it. Okay, so as I said, we are going to be talking about what does it mean to actually stand out, specifically as a personal brand. Now, personal branding, as we know, when it comes to a personal brand, always know that especially when it comes to the likes of your values, it's always about you, personal, right? It's about you. That's the key sort of like clue right there. That being said, when it comes to talking about those 3 main key things that I talked about in part 1, which is inspire, aspiration, and equally awareness, when it comes to those key things, understanding how they then attach themselves to the idea of a personal brand, well, this is how. When you get to grips with what your values are, with what your aspirations, or more specifically your vision, and equally the purpose for why you're doing really doing what you're doing, you get to understand how those key 3 things that I talked about in part 1 can now attach themselves into your personal brand. So to give a general overview, personal brand, especially when it comes to the idea of inspiration, especially when you're talking about what does it mean to stand out, it's all about what are you doing, or what are you saying about your topic, your choice, your thing that you're making everybody aware of. What are you doing and using that to be able to help inspire others to equally become aware of it? What are you doing? What is that inspiration? Have you gone through something specifically that you want to make sure that you are now helping others to stand out with? Have you literally gone from A to B to C to D through the rest of the alphabet, taking them on a journey through it and helping them to equally understand what they now need to do, what their steps should be to be able to come with you on that journey continuously, or maybe even create their own journeys? Are you sharing that? Because when you do, you get to take people or even help people to move. You get to help them to see that, you know, there is a way forwards. Because remember, folks, you are the way forwards. You are the example. So help them to see that there is a way. And when I say them, I'm talking about your audience. Even as a personal brand, you have an audience, right? And especially if you're sharing it on socials, if you're sharing what it is that you're doing, throughout your social media platforms, talking about your day, talking about who it is that you're supporting, who is it that you're standing up for, people are watching, people are seeing it. So they are your audience. The ones who naturally comment with the good engagement, the ones who actually give you a responsive comment that really resonates with what it is that you're striving for, what it is that you're going for, that's your audience, okay? I'm not talking about the ones that give you thumbs up or the fire emojis. No, the ones who actually have something to say about it. That's your actual target audience. Even if you're not targeting anybody, they're still your audience. So I say all that to say this. When you are standing out, especially as a personal brand, the way that you inspire, the way that you create a level of aspiration, and the way that you also create a level of awareness about the subject matter that you're actually standing for, that really does matter. And why? Well, simply because you're a source of a role model. You're a source of a person of influence without you even realizing it. People are seeing, people are watching. So help them to understand why you're doing what you're doing. Especially if you want to build an awareness about a specific subject, and especially if you want to take it to that higher level of influence. And the personal brand that I actually want to focus on, there's many out there, as we know. Richard Branson, obviously, we know Oprah, but I want to draw your attention to Michelle Obama. Now, by the way, folks, everybody has a personal brand, but it's up to you to choose on how you actually represent it and whether or not you actually want to use it for the greater good, depending on what you do. Michelle Obama uses her brand to create a level of awareness, to create a level of aspiration, and equally to create a level of inspiration to get people moving. And here's something that I wonder if you've even noticed, especially when it comes to Michelle Obama. She is always a strong advocate for the idea of self. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm talking about discovering self, being mindful of self, but equally standing up for self, as in you and I, as in me, standing up for me, you standing up for you. She is all about that and helping you to understand that, you know what, you're amazing within who you are, but you just have to realize it yourself. So she is all about self, in my opinion. And when you come across somebody like Michelle Obama, you naturally feel inspired to feel like you can actually conquer the world. Feel like if you're feeling down, feel like if you're, oh my goodness, there is no hope to this end. When you start hearing her, words of motivation, when you start hearing her, or even just coming across her platform more and more and more, if you're into her style of motivation, that is, then you start realizing, do you know what, I can move. Do you know what, I am of worth. Do you know what, this can be done. Things are possible. I can make it. I can. That level of inspiration, that level of aspiration, because you're now seeing her also do it as well. So she's creating that level of inspiration and aspiration together. But equally, she's also drawing the awareness of, yes, you can. Yes, you are allowed. Yes, you are supposed to be there. Yes, you do deserve, When you get to that level of promoting self or promoting whatever it is that you're wanting to stand for, and obviously that level of stand for, that level of awareness can also go into charities. It can also go into raising awareness for things that are really wrongfully going on in the world. If you're backing it in a way that really is congruent to a whole lot of other people, then yeah, you will create your following, and yes, you will create a community. All depends, and this is why your VPV comes into play, by the way, folks. It all depends on what your purpose and your vision is. You understand what your purpose and your vision is, then you understand how to communicate with your audience, or communicate with anybody who's following you, or just even communicating with the person sitting next to you or standing next to you. You understand any space that you're occupying, you understand what to say, because you know about your purpose, because you know about your vision, and you know how that all attaches to the awareness of what you're trying to draw attention to. So there we have it. That's how you can stand out with your personal brand. I know it can be a little bit woo, but you know what? Take your time to understand it. Because again, all of this stuff will always relate to your VPV. You understand what your VPV is for yourself, even as a personal brand. You understand how to inspire. Then you'll understand how to create aspiration. Then you'll also understand what you want to draw or even bring awareness to. That awareness, as a little fun fact, by the way, folks, is technically your why. what it is that you're doing, or your until I moment, or that point that you want to reach to make sure that, you know what, until this happens, I'm not going to stop on my mission to achieve X, Y, and Z, whatever that may be for yourself. So folks, I hope that helped you. I know that it can be, especially with personal branding, it can be a lot to take in. However, take your time with it. Understand what your VPV is. And to help you with that, there are some key principles I actually want to share with you. These key principles, I've designed them specifically because I know that branding can be overwhelming. But you start here with your VPV, which is the number one principle that I always encourage others to always establish for themselves, or get the help to establish for it. You start there, then you move on to the next principles, and then the next principles, and so forth and so forth. You go through all of those list of principles and what you change within your brand, what you stand out, what you even, just stand out, even show up in a more better way that's actually congruent to you and your beliefs, and in a way that also stops you from losing yourself in the process. So folks, go ahead, click on the link that's in the description box below this video, get to understanding what those particular principles are, and I will see you on the other side in part 3.